Curdy Trades here, and this is my long-term review of Fluid Film, and I'm continuing on from my other years that I've done this. This is year 8 of using Fluid Film. So this is my 2012 Impreza Sport. It is almost completely rust-free. There's just some small spots that are just starting to form of rust. I'm going to touch those spots up really well with Fluid Film this year to make sure they don't get any worse. But Fluid Film, for those of you that don't know, is a really awesome undercoating. And you spray it on the underside of your car, on the frame, in the fenders, in the rockers. And the biggest thing that this does is it creates a barrier between the metal of your vehicle and the salt and water and the air and the moisture that the road will kick up on your car in the winter time. And so it stops the metal and the salt from meeting so that the rust corrosion process cannot happen. And Fluid does an amazing job of stopping it. I can't say enough good things about this product. It just really is the best product for this job. And the best part about it is actually that it doesn't harden and it stays fluid. That's why it's called Fluid Film, obviously. And you would kind of think, if you didn't know much about undercoatings, you might think that it not hardening is a bad thing, and you might think that you would want it to harden to protect your vehicle, and you really don't want an undercoating that hardens, like a rubberized undercoating or a wax undercoating. And while they might seem like a good idea at first because you might be able to apply them and they're said to last a long time, they might last 2, 3, 4 years maybe, but as they get old they start to crack. And the problem with that, and rock chips break the surface off of them as well and flake them off. And the problem with that is that once they're compromised, once they start to crack, the water and the salty water get underneath the coating, and the coatings will actually hold the moisture on the metal of your vehicle, causing it to rust out quicker. And so again, an undercoating that hardens, or is a rubber one for example, they are actually really bad for your car in the long term. They might look good when they're applied, they might last a couple of years and you might not notice anything, but long term they're not very good for your vehicle. The one thing that Fluid Film does that does not is it doesn't harden. It stays fluid and it actually creeps. It moves and covers areas that you didn't physically spray. So if you spray a large glob in one area, it's going to expand out and cover more areas. It uses the surface tension and it spreads on its own. And the other really nice part about the spreading that it does is if you get a rock chip, if a rock flies up and bumps the underside of the car and removes some of the fluid film around it will cover back up. It's self-healing. And so it keeps your car protected really awesome in the winter time. And this car here, spent its first 4 years in Florida, so it wasn't exposed to salt. It had zero rust when I purchased it. And it's still almost completely rust-free. I'm getting a little tiny spot on one of the fenders, the rockers. The one thing I will say about Fluid Film that is kind of a negative, and the only real downside to Fluid Film, is that you do need to apply it every year. Every fall, before winter, you do need to apply another coat of it, because it does get washed away over time from the road spray and the salt and all the other things out there on the road. But it is very long lasting too. I don't want you to think that you drive through the rain once and you're going to need to reapply it on your car, because that just is not true. So next I'll show you underneath the car what it looks like in the spring after the winter's over, when the fluid film's still on there and caked on. And then I'll take the power washer here, spray it off, and you can see kind of how it looks when fluid film is washed off, and how little rust there is on the underside of this vehicle. It's amazing how well this stuff holds up over years and years and years. If you ever look for a power washer, I can't recommend these little electric ones enough. This was $100 on Amazon, and I'll have a link in the description too. I don't know how I lived without a power washer before. So you can see how it repels water here. So you can see here, even though it's washed off, look, it still beads up. It still has a little bit left. This is where the fluid film was still on. So I'm going to power wash all this off, and you can kind of see where the rust is and then where it isn't. So after power washing, you kind of see there is very, very little rust. There's a little bit on a lot of the little connections where the different parts are welded together. That's typically where the rust will start to form at first. But if you look at this overall, the amount of rust is extremely minimal. If you look at any car, any brand new car that's even 1, 2 years old, that's been in the salt, it's gonna look like this or worse than this. So this is really, really awesome. For those of you who don't live in the Rust Belt, you won't understand just how bad the rust is. Like a 3-year-old car will look like completely rusty on the underside. So for it to look like this is like mint in the Rust Belt, like brand new vehicle will look like this. And it's not just the different components too. It's up in like the frame area, up in the back area. So a lot of this is the original paint that's still on there. Typically that's all flaking off from the rust bubbling up underneath. So for it to look like this after 8 salty winters is really amazing. This stuff really does an awesome job. If you have used Fluid Film or you like Fluid Film, let me know about it in the comments, what you think of it. Also, check out a link in the description if you want to buy any of the things that you've seen here, the pressure washer, the Fluid Film. I'm actually going to spray some more Fluid Film on this after it dries here. I don't want these open, bare metal spots exposed to water even. Otherwise they will start rusting again. So I'm going to do a quick spray up over this. Here, I sprayed the bottom of my car off with the power washer with the Fluid Film on it about 40 feet away from here, and what happened is the water carried the Fluid Film over to the rocks here on the side of my driveway, and you can see it still kind of retains its properties. It's still fluid over here, it's still greasy, and that just shows how well this stuff is and how good it lasts when it's exposed to the condition. So if it's power washed and runs 40 feet away and then it's still working just fine, it's really, really a testament to how good this stuff is. So typically a car of this age, 8 to 10 years, will typically start to be showing some rust starting to bubble up on the edge of the fenders here and the bottoms of the doors. There is absolutely zero rust on my doors, my fenders, up in the strut tower areas. It just does a really awesome job of keeping that salt and that stuff and that junk off of the car, off of the metal, and stopping that corrosion and rusting process from even beginning in the first place. The one thing that people kind of misunderstand about Fluid Film, it's not to be put over rust that's already happened. Fluid Film, you should be putting it on there before the rust happens to stop it from starting, because once the rust starts in the first place, it's extremely difficult to slow down. It's extremely difficult to stop from happening and spreading. And usually once it's set in on the doors and the frame and inside these fenders here, it's almost impossible to remove without completely removing the metal and welding in new metal, which is super expensive. So if you can buy a can or two of this, it's like 20-30 bucks for 2-3 cans. So if you can spend $20-30 a year on Fluid Film, stopping it from happening in the first place, you're gonna save tons of money. You don't wanna have to have these unsightly big rust crunchy marks on your car. You don't wanna have to spend thousands on body work and paint. So it does take a little bit of time. You can have somebody apply it. You can use these cans. I've used the cans. I've also used a spray gun, and I'll put a link to this in the description, and the Fluid Film cans as well. If you have any other questions or comments about Fluid Film, let me know and I can answer those too. But overall, it's a really easy way to stop the rust from eating your car alive. Your car will look amazing. It won't have these nasty rust marks on the doors, on the frame. It's really easy to apply yourself, or you can have someone apply it for you. A lot of undercoating shops will do this for like 100-200 bucks. It's not that expensive to have done, but you can save a lot of money doing it yourself. The spray cans work great. Using a gallon jug and a sprayer really fast, or if you have a big car and don't want to deal with it. I like the convenience of the spray cans. I don't have to get out a whole bunch of equipment. I can just jump under there and spray it real quick while I'm changing over to the winter tires. So yeah, Fluid Film, it's awesome, great stuff.